Beautiful people, how are you? How are you? Wow, yes, glad to be back with you. Got the sound of the ocean out back there, roaring and crashing. Beautiful sea breeze coming through. And yes, it's a Friday. Thank God it's Friday. All those that toil on a Monday to Friday basis, you might be thinking, indeed, good to be with you, good to be with you. And we're going to have the rather meaningless gesture of vote for your fellow tyrant so that we can advance our agenda in a different direction from a different face. Because hope, change, new person, remember? That means we get a whole clean slate, only not. But, however, different agendas are advanced under different leaders, and this is the Trumpian, potentially, or is it the Harrisian? We don't know yet. We don't know. They know. They've already decided. They're just busy punching it up in the voting machines right now. But glad to be with you. Glad to be with you. And what are the great trades that they will advance? What pivot points of inflection will they be bringing down upon us if they choose to change who they are using? That's right. Meanwhile, quick news flashes. Britain had its budget. That's right. They hate farmers. Inheritance. That was just before the election, just before the budget. I mean, in Britain, good old Shill Gates was hanging around and having a wee chat to anybody who was anybody of all the puppets that is Keir Starmer and his useless chancellor. That's right. I think it's Reeves of some sort. And what did they decide? They decided punish the farmers. That's Bill Gates, who's actually been buying up most of the farmland. That's right, in the US. And then, of course, there was that famous Coleman tweet that I tweeted out. If you're following the Market Sniper or the Crypto Sniper, welcome to my crypto friends. We're going to talk about Bitcoin, why it might do well, supposedly, if Trumpian gets in. Indeed. Yes, all of these things we're going to be discussing. But isn't it funny? Isn't it funny that that tweet from Coleman, who was very close to the club of 300, said that they will have pandemics that will weaken and reduce the population, that will create artificially created food shortages. Isn't that interesting? And here you have Shill Gates buying up all the farms in the US and popping in to see the British, and then whoa, we're changing the rules on how inheritance tax works with regards to agriculture. All of this happening in slow motion, of course, you say. Most people don't notice it. It's too slow. It's too slow. They don't notice it. And, of course, they're going to spend. That's what Labour does. And it's all hearty stuff. You know, they care. They are passionate people of the heart, Labour. That's right. Although they're not very much for the British working class Labour. No. Don't give them too much of that. They are for the poor people in far off lands that need to be boated in here, that we're paying for and put up in 5-star hotels so that they can be gentrified, you see, so that they can get used to being high society members. When you import that number of brain surgeons and dentists and doctors and rocket scientists, you need to ensure that you give them a living standard that is commensurate to a future king, queen, high society member, and all that's going on. And the budget will be sure to keep the boats landing, I tell you what, we thought Normandy was a landing of winning a war. Now we're seeing the reverse Normandy effect going on in Britain at the same time as the mighty USA. The USA. Come on, boys, give us a USA. I just feel my IQ dropping when I say that. And by the way, I love the country and the people. But I just think a little more lyrics, you know. Maybe it's just me. A tiny bit more lyrics. Go to a Liverpool football game for example. There'll be a chorus. There'll be something else said. I don't know. I shouldn't be judging. I could never be Simon Cowell. I'd be a terrible judge. I'd just go brain dead, 0 out of 10, off ski. Next, but anyway, maybe I'm missing the rhythm. Maybe it's the repetition. There's something in the brainwashing of that, Maybe it's like repeat after me, repeat. Get the maximum repetition. Brain must compute brain. Yes, I am geologically located right here, right now. That means it's the best. Okay. Well, anyway, they are having their great election. And I was Florida way and spending time, as I say, love the people, love the place, love everything, hate the government, and the whole notion of this election. Choose your slave owner puppet. Well, it's the same slave owner at the top, as most of you already know by now, but things will be allowed to pivot and things will be allowed to advance. So they time stages of what they do. And that's also very similar to non-farm payrolls, by the way, also happening today, by the way. So we got a non-farm payroll for this year, October month, which is rolled November, first Friday of the new month. It's actually the first. Happy November. Where's this year gone? At the same time as you got this election. And what they tend to do is they pivot themes. They have a stage. We'll push this theme to here. Once we got to that level, then we'll pause it there. We'll advance the other one. You know, the pharmaceutical complex got all the money last time. We need to send more to the military industrial complex this time. You know, Russia bad. Okay, now we're going to go Russia good again, maybe, or at least Russia no war if Trumpy comes in. But Bitcoin great. Bitcoin great. But Bitcoin pulled back, everyone said. Nope, there was a HVF on a small time frame. It made its target and it's had a pullback. So did gold have a pullback. And everybody's going, oh, but now you must follow the NASDAQ. Only the NASDAQ will tell you what Bitcoin's going to do. Well, the NASDAQ goes up on liquidity. Crypto needs liquidity. It's actually global liquidity that is driving risk off and risk on assets. And of course, the debt collapse, stuff coming out of the debt markets, rates climbing when they're doing cuts. Well, that's kind of an interesting development, wasn't it? So here we go. We're going to have an election. I think they've already, the Democrats have probably won it by now, even though it hasn't started. You know, the Dominion and all of that stuff. But anyway, what's going to work? What's going to go up generally? So Trump is kind of pro-energy. So oils will start, you'll start to get companies that will probably oil, gas, and energy. He's kind of like the Bush trade in a similar sense. Bush Senior, Bush Junior, all of this. Frackers will get more stuff. You'll probably see supply of energy in the US actually go up. Right now, that combined with my current view on the oil market actually is an oil price short, potentially. So we're discussing potential trades. We want to give you a little bit of alpha, or hopefully we might be wrong. It's an opinion. It's just me thinking how I do. But we're already biased short. We already have a structure set up short, and we've already had a technical break, but we've been pulled back and churning and up and around. This is kind of in a gestation period. And what tends to happen as you go into an election is that everybody gets a little risk averse. It's a bit uncertain. And then they're scared to be horribly biased Trump too strong. So they suddenly have this advanced pullback. Kamala's making ground. You know, she said one sentence without laughing like a whore in a carrot patch. And she actually finished the full sentence herself without missing the teleprompter read. You know, it's like this. So you've got the stupidest clowns that they want you to know that they're putting in the dumbest, stupidest, most controlled people that know exactly who the real boss is. They actually want you to know that it's a clown show. They sent him to go do The Apprentice to be, you know, entertaining, so that people could know that they're at least being entertained by a puppet. Go practice being a puppet clown. And they sent the other one, you're stupid enough. You don't really need to practice. Just be who you are and do what I tell you. And don't try to say too much. Just laugh, because then everyone thinks you're so cool. And that's kind of where you are. It's not the most gifted, intelligent people. It's the most controlled, manipulated people that have probably got videos of all sorts of dark, dirty things. You do realize you're in a black male-run system that goes all the way to the highest people in Mossad. That is how it works. Right through the CIA, right through the FBI, right through all the way through, and MI5, MI6, Mossad, and they control and they pull the whole stuff. But energies, supply could go up, new leases could go up, businesses, the shares could do okay. They could start to get a little bit more potential, a little bit of barriers removed. So maybe costs go down. They have more opportunity to do more investment. But I actually think on the price itself, that's actually probably going to see the price fall further. So that's on a Trump win, which most people are expecting. Assuming nothing major dramatically happens. What goes up on Kamala? I'm not sure anything goes up. Well, Kamala is very much controlled, and the leftist side of that argument is very anti-Russia. So the ongoing arms provisions, those things will continue with the Russian war, the attempts. But, you know, they'll probably pause that if Trump comes in. Having kept Putin a bit busy, they'll probably have at least an uneasy pause or some sort of temporary calm that eventually gets agreed in his first year or something if he gets in. So that won't be so good for the military industrial complex. It'll pivot good for the energy industrial complex. So they get a turn. As I say, they're all working, and they just tend to send grease to different parts of their organization. They control every element of it, and different parts get to make money. That all roads lead to Rome. The money goes back to them. It just goes to different oiled wheels. What else? I actually think Bitcoin probably will do well on Trump. You'll probably see BlackRock ETF get swollen a little further institutionally. So there's this whole institutional surge that just does like it's told. The narrative is Bitcoin's going to do great under Trump. Nothing's changed about Bitcoin. Nothing's, no, we're going to be pro and regulation. We're not going to enforce and all of this. And maybe Trump Todd will throw out the SEC Gainsler, the Zio Queen or King or whatever it is. He's probably super dodge in the gender stakes. He looks like an absolute wuss, by the way. Anyway, he might get thrown out, and who knows, maybe you'll have a more benign environment there. So some of the SEC aggression, that could be good for XRP. It could be good for Bitcoin. Now, XRP, some people say, you said XRP will go up. I looked at a massive macro chart that right through to monthly timeframes and said, we've got two massive great impulses, and we're now in a very constrained, low volatility phase. And given enough time on a macro view, eventually these things can break to the upside and make big ass numbers. And right now, it's just continued like this. If you look at your monthly chart, and it's been the longest period of low volatility at a lowish level, somewhere between 50 and 69 cents. It's a bounce, and it's going on forever. Now, Trump, if he gets in and there's an SEC wind back side, I hope the crypto sniper guys are in here in the house as well, because we're talking obviously about cryptos here a fair bit. XRP could get a little bit warmed up if the SEC were backed off and some form of resolution. You see, markets hate uncertainty. So you have the uncertainty of the election. So they close the gap between the two presidents. They don't want to be too convinced that it's all going to be Trump. So the polls say whatever you tell them to say, by the way. We conducted telephone research. I say, who? Guys in Haiti. Anyway, so the polls will do whatever they want them to do. So everyone gets a little bit risk averse before the election, and then there's kind of this relief afterwards. It's what you get is the relief rally, and it'll be specific to that theme. So if, as everyone expects, Trump's get in, you'll probably see a little bit of upside on Bitcoin, for ongoing upside despite the pullback after a nice breakout. You'll probably see XRP be particularly well favored. That could have a knock-on effect on XLM, which is Lumen. As far as tokens go, I think energy stocks will get to be able to make much more beneficial long-term investments for future gains, but the energy price forward dating an increase in supply might actually come off. One or two things are not going to change regardless who wins. In short, the truth of the matter is we're in a debt-based crash. How many times have you heard me say that? Probably not enough times, but I'm going to say it again. You are in a debt-based crash. That is why, whilst Powell cut, the 10-year actually went up on interest rates. Yes, it's going to roll over and come down eventually. They might do a real disinflationary event, might get a bit of a bank failure or a bit of a wobble. I think quite early in the new presidencies, some of the wheels that have been kept spinning and some of the plates that are still on the ends of sticks, some of those are going to be allowed to come off. So you might get your Santa rally for the Wall Street bonuses, and then very early in the year, January, February, March, some of the creaks that certainly are sounding, but they're muffling the sound of, are going to start. You've got to question banks that are sitting on tons of debt that has been devalued. They bought government debt, which spiked on the rates. So whatever happens, regardless who gets in, the overall fiscal state of the US nation is that they are consuming way more than they make. And the countries that make stuff, bring in commodities, make stuff and sell it to the US are getting in return debt instruments denominated in dollars. It's an IOU. It's a fancy green piece of paper IOU where I say, I'll pay you interest on this and you can hold it and you have our currency. So you're having, the currency has been strong, but what's actually been happening in the interest rates, the debt valuation is is collapsing. Now, what they sometimes do when they pivot is then the currency comes off, and then you have a bit of interest rate cuts, and you get the 10-year coming down. But each time they do that, there's slippage, and both are contracting long term. But sometimes one has a period of strength, the other one has a much larger period of weakness, the debt market. Then you get the dollar down a little bit. Maybe that'll come in the new year too, with a bit of disinflationary type vibes, slowing of the economy, a little bit more true stats. We'll find out the reality of it all. I think consumer is wrecked regardless if Trump comes in, or regardless if Kamala comes in. One thing, there aren't huge, massive differences of policies, even though, they make out they hate each other and they're totally different parties. But one is a bigger tax merchant, and that's the Dems. That would wreck the consumer even more, even faster. The Republicans slightly less so, but the consumer is wrecked anyway. The average man in the street, maximum credit card loans, battling a lot of mortgage arrears, a lot of. So that's going to hurt consumer stocks, and it's going to be very hard. Trump will be bad, Kamala will just be worse, and we're already in a bad place. So I don't really know what the trade is. I think you go on that. I think you want to buy a short on consumer staples and mid-tier luxury. The super rich are super rich. So energy prices, if Trump gets in, I think slightly down, because the bridges to entry, the barriers to entry, and the scope to expand will be lightened, the burden there. That'll be good for the corporates long term, bad for the price short term. Gold, I think, and Bitcoin will do well under Trump, but gold won't not do well under Harris either. In other words, gold's in a macro bull market regardless which president comes. In fact, in some ways, if Harris gets in, the debt that Granny Yoda yelling, oh, have another 100 trillion. She's going to do $1 trillion every 81 days, and she's going to be printing it up like no tomorrows. And in actual fact, that's just going to pump gold. Why? Because you are all getting diluted. Your dollars in your wallets are getting you further diluted, and that's it's a one-way street on that. So gold continues up regardless, and could even go up. It's going to go up, and it's going to moon, and it's going to have a great journey. But Kamala Harris getting in, and the Yellen typical policies, which you would imagine she'd be extended if she got in as Treasury, and the splurge of spending would lead to ever more issuance of debt, which long-term is a debt market collapse. Did I say that before? Yes, I did. And that's going to mean bigger juice. So gold as a long trade, there's nothing that changes this, guys. And thank you for your comments, by the way. We're watching all your comments. You're super active today. Love it. Don't blame the taxpayer. They did not mismanage or steal. No more fiscal accountability. The once great state of California, says Dylan. At least you're on the coast, my friend. The Central Coast, indeed. So what else? Debt on top of debt. That's right. And the thing with the debt on top of debt narrative that Sweeping LH is saying is that basically it's gold. Your trade is gold. But it will also be potentially Bitcoin, and even more so Bitcoin if Trump gets in. And if Trump gets in, it could be a little bit more Bitcoin, but that might take a little bit from gold too. So that's why we did a YouTube on the Crypto Sniper, that Bitcoin could just steal some of the thunder and some of the headlines if it starts doing bigger percentages than gold. And then everybody will go, oh, new thing. Gold will still go up and be pretty consistent, but it may not have the same upside performance as a far larger market cap. It's about 15 trillion and Bitcoin's about 1.5 trillion. So it's about 10x the trillion. It takes a lot more money. But the central bankers, believe you me, the big central bankers that are concerned about the debt situation, they are flying from the debt markets, and we will get interest rate spikes, I expect, in this next 4-year cycle. That will be very damaging to your health, wealth, and prosperity if you have big exposure to variable rate charges like credit cards and other things. By the way, the 30-year mortgage on the US market, very, very high now, in spite of the fact that they just had 2 cuts. I think you had about 7% for the average man. Bought gold in 22, up 60%. Great. Keep doing it, and that number will keep going up. Greetings from Muscatine, Iowa. Welcome, my USS friends. Glad to have you all in the house, all the way from Iowa. Yes, Iowa. Was that a proper Indian name? I must study the history on that. There's some ones that sound like they're genuine red Indian names, Iowa and Utah and these names. I don't know, but I'm guessing, but I'm probably wrong. I must get the history dive on that. Or if you know, tell us in the comments. Enron Elon is dumping to bury cash. Yeah. So by the way, some people think I'm calling a short on Tesla. There is a trade setting up that'll either be a long or a short. We're watching it in our community. Join us for an experience of what our community is like for a 3-hour session with us, 1.5 hour traditional markets, short break, and a 1.5 hour crypto markets by clicking the link for the live trading day that is being hit through the comment section, the live feed right now. I'm holding right now. Hey, you guys down there, put the link in the top chat. There it goes. Takes a while. Small lag. And that's for joining us on our live. What are you going to get, by the way, live trading? First of all, we're going to give you all our macro biases. This is the things and here's the thing with trading. I'm wrong on the smaller time frames quite a lot, actually. We had a Euro Swiss franc trade. We thought good of it. It's failed. Unfortunately, I think it'll reset up and go again. We talk about sometimes doing 2 or 3 entries on some setups before they go, but it wasn't a super big one. On the bigger time frames, our hit rate goes up, and up. Why? Why do you spend so much time on the macro? Well, I tell you why, because you get more consistent and you can be more clear cut. We've been a gold bull for a long time. We had that first HVF down at $1,300, $1,280, and we said that is the beginning of the end. It's the first upside HVF in a new trend. And since then, you've gone to $2,780 at its high. And you've had a number of setups along the way. We had the 2K. You can be accurate on the big times more often. And the problem with that is most people are impatient and want emergency money right now. They want to see instant profits. You have to sit, and we actually had, since 21 high, you had about right the way until this year, really, 2 or 3 years inside what I'd call a 15-year trade that probably ends at 10 or 15,000, maybe even crazier numbers, depending on how much debt. Could be 30, 40, 50, 60, 100,000. But it's a 15-year trade to take something from 1 to 150,000. Let's say it gets there, or 65,000. Look, it's 60 times, or it's 150 times. But it's a 15-year trade. You've had 2.5 years of going sideways and quite a bit of down hits. That's investment. And that's the same thing with the XRP. I've said before, with that could be the next bull cycle. You could actually gestate, have a little bit up, a little bit down, and not do anything this bull market cycle. In fact, we've had 6 months of nothing, and it soon could be over, and you could have a bear market. So we've got to be patient. Match your investment profile time frame to the opportunities. So monthly charts, you need to have a patient of a monk. That's usually not on leverage. It's usually investment, and you're just stacking. And on the bad days, you buy more than on the good days. That's what you need to do. So in terms of these elections, gold goes up regardless. Bitcoin goes up a little more on Trump, which could nick a little bit away from gold. So there could be a small element of it, but it's still, there's nothing that'll stop the gold train. But it might have a minor effect on the rate if Bitcoin starts stealing headlines. So in a weird way, Kamala Harris might be even more supportive for the gold, because she'll issue more debt and spend like a drunken sailor via her little controlling Yehudi, the little Smurf granny. She'll be throwing it out like no tomorrows if she's kept in power, and so that could, it's the dilution of the dollar that invariably moves gold up. So gold is actually flying at the same altitude. She's just accelerating all the parachutists that are jumping out the plane harder into the earth, the gravity pull. What else have we got for your ideas? We've got quite a bit to say, but actually I've got to go and start and get ready in 15 minutes. I think we'll be starting our live trading day. Our live trading day with HVF method, where you get to see how we analyze the markets, get a different take, get some macro biases on you should generally be long this or square. We never try take profits both ways. That creates actually directional confusion. You need a bias. Biases are actually good. Everyone says bias bad. No, bias is good. You need a macro bias. The reason we put on the Euro Swiss franc is because we're actually in a much bigger time frame, a euro devaluation to the Swiss franc, and we got to set up on a lower time frame. And it still didn't work on the primer level, but I think the bigger pattern will come back to us. So we stack lots of things, small favors in our favor, and you still don't have periods where you win. These things rally, etc., etc. But if you're generally paddling downstream, you get to go a lot further than if you're electing to go upstream. So shorting, making a career out of shorting gold, shorting Bitcoin, and longing the debt markets is the fast track way to the poorhouse. Yes, there'll be moments debt will rally. Yes, there'll be moments gold and Bitcoin sell off in this environment. But I wouldn't be positioning like that. Even if I say I'm done here, it's no longer going up, and I expect it to have some downside. In the absence of pattern, in the absence of stops, in the absence of a probability of outcome, with an absence of a risk-reward trade and setup, I'm not doing it. And against my macro, I'm not doing it. You can come on board and see what are our macro biases in the traditional markets and in the crypto markets, and the one or two cryptos, and there's some I don't even particularly like that are set up against Bitcoin that are actually going to outperform. And you'll see that in our crypto sessions. You'll get all our understanding of our biases, how we actually position. And it's not always in market. Obviously, if you take an investment, that's a 15-year one waiting for gold at 1250 to go to 150,000, you will be always in, but there's no leverage in that. Your carry cost should be at home, really. It should be under your toilets, whirly gurgler or something, some creative place. So you shouldn't have cost of carry. Occasionally, on the smaller time frames, we get amazing setups, or medium-sized time frames inside the macro trend, and we love those. And then you get sometimes a micro pattern on a really small time frame that triggers the other one, that allows for an expansive reward to risk. And those often get landed to a higher degree than the number that is associated to their risk reward. In short, if it's 1:15 trade, you should only really be right once every 15 times. But in actual fact, we often get those right more often. That's still lots of losses. You can get it right 3 or 4 times out of 15. That still means you're wrong 9 times on entries. But we come back and we put the entry again, usually a touch early, a little bit tight, it reformats, it extends a bit, you go again. We have maximum of 3 entries. And it's always just 1 unit that's being lost. The third one makes the 15, pays for the 2 you got wrong. You'll understand a little bit more about the philosophy, how we do it, how we're biasing, and what we're seeing. And to do that, you can come and enjoy a live trading day and go away. You can see the recording for the better part of a month. We keep it hosted for you. If you get 2 live trading days, you pay for 2, you will actually get 3. So you'll get 1 full quarter of updates with me every day, not every day, live trading day, which is on the non-farmer payroll release number, which is often when we get inflection. So we have an election threatening an inflection. We have a payroll number threatening an inflection. And we've just had a budget, which is ramping the yield on the debt markets in the UK, because they are going to spend. They want to do a Yellen too. You see, you'd think it was controlled by the same people, that they all have the same ideas, eh? Wouldn't you? You'd think it you control. You're a tinfoil hat wearer. How dare you think that? They just all came to the same conclusions in all these different countries and all these different studies, and they're all ending in shit street, and they're all continuing to do what they do, all independently of mind. I assure you. But anyway, you'll see how that could set up a crash in the British debt markets again. And they've already been warned once when they did the pension, and they are not as widely held and not as widely accepted as a collateral item as the USDTs are for countries such as China, etc., etc. They need to watch out. And they've turned on their farmers. Fancy that. And America turned on their farmers, and they're getting all their farms bought up. You'd think it's synchronized, wouldn't you? You're a tinfoil hat wearer. Anyway, we'll talk about this and a whole bunch more. We're going to take the trades and the profits out of the crazy world that we've been born into. We're going to understand it better. We're going to see the moves before the moves, like the oil trade, like the 4 years ago bond peak call that saw a short TLT way higher than anybody else who's now getting involved at these levels. Get the news before the news. That's what HVF method does, delivered through me. And the good thing is, rather than me being particularly special, it's a transferable skill. You may even in time utilize this tool better than me. That's the thing. You're not reliant on a guru. There's no gurus. I will be wrong. I will be right. I will misinterpret. I'll do everything totally Norman, average humans being. I've just built a far better car than everybody else. They're riding a penny farthing, and I've got a 4x4 latest Range Rover, and they're still in a different century. It's a better method. Okay, the singing is starting. It's telling me it's time to go. I will see you. Take that link below. Join us for the live trading day today. I'm looking really forward to doing it. It's going to be great. And then you're going to have a run into your weekend, and we'll watch the crazy fake number come in, and we'll see how the markets choose to react. Till later and next time, thank you for watching, and catch you later. Bye for now, guys.